turnbuckles to the new Fast Gun turnbuckles. Let's get into it. First, let's talk about what kind of camper we have. This is our 2005 Lance 981. We've had this thing for now almost 5 years, and we've been using the same turnbuckles that the original owner gave us with the purchase of the camper. And we want to thank TorqueLift for hooking us up with these new Fast Gun turnbuckles today. We're upgrading from our original Derringer style TorqueLift turnbuckles to the new Fast Guns, as our old turnbuckles are getting a little bit tired after probably about 20 years of use. So today we're doing a much needed upgrade. Oh, look at that. Some more TorqueLift stuff. These are TorqueLift stairs that we keep with us for when we don't have the dirt bike carrier on the back. So I haven't even unboxed these new TorqueLift Fast Guns yet, but let's go over what we have here in terms of the product. These are shorter in style than what most truck camper owners are gonna need. Normally you would need a longer set of these Fast Guns because most people have a frame mounted connection point for their turnbuckle and their camper down to their truck. That way you're avoiding your pickup body, whereas for us, we don't have that problem. Ours goes straight to our flatbed. I haven't done much more than just drill a hole in the stake pockets of our flatbed in order to secure our truck camper down to the truck, but it's worked well for the last 4 years of our ownership, going with what we know. Those look nice. Those are gonna match. Sweet. Threaded rod for our adjustment. That's so clean. I wanna keep it clean. Woo! Coming in hot. So let's show you exactly what comes in one of these packages of TorqueLift Fast Gun turnbuckles. So TorqueLift actually has an awesome instructional video on how to assemble these Fast Guns, which I watched earlier in order to prep for making this video for you guys. So let's go through exactly how we're gonna put these things together. So I might fumble this by comparison to the pros over at TorqueLift. You open up your turnbuckle and you're basically preparing it for the threaded rod. I'm gonna take my O-ring, that is your O-ring indicator. We'll use that later on when we go to actually install these turnbuckles. They're gonna showcase exactly how tight we have the camper down to the flatbed. Once your O-ring is in place, we're gonna insert our threaded rod. Comes up all the way to the back side of the turnbuckle. And in terms of the order of operations, it was the square nut. And so what I'm doing here is I'm just twisting the bottom of the turnbuckle, or the bottom of the threaded rod, in order to get that start moving down the square nut there. Square nut is designed to drop down into this allocated part of the turnbuckle. The tubing of the turnbuckle itself is square shaped. So you're gonna drop that down in, right, there it is coming out, wiggle it down into place. And then again, I'm turning my turnbuckle from the bottom, which is ultimately going to make my height adjustment for my turnbuckle length. So I'll leave it there for now. You can see how nicely that slides up and down inside there. The next piece of hardware that's gonna go inside of the tubing of the turnbuckle is the rubber washer. That rubber washer is tight, does not wanna go down easily. So then the last piece of the puzzle is your lock nut. How did he do that without a wrench? Well, I think I need a wrench. In the TorqueLift video, the guy did it by hand, but man, he must have stronger hands than I do. Be right back. Don't judge what's in my toolboxes here. This is real life. Protein powder, cat food, collapsible buckets. These are things you need on the road. All right. 3/4 inch wrench. That's not gonna work. They said that you're supposed to have the threaded rod come out of the top of the lock nut, but I'll tell you, maybe I'm missing some, but we'll get her done. We're not getting it done without looking a little bit foolish here. Feeling foolish. Oh yeah, draining. That's a tight lock nut. Okay, so that's satisfactory. So the threaded rod has passed through the nylock, making me feel warm and fuzzy that this thing's going to stay on there in perpetuity for our big word of the day. Pull that bad boy down. And then last but not least, the black cap. Seal this off from dust and crust. So at this point, we need to take off my old turnbuckle and start to make some measurements with our new turnbuckles. I may have to shorten up the threaded rod just a tiny bit in order for it to work with our kind of custom flatbed setup that we have here. So these, if you choose to subscribe to our channel, you'll get to see us reuse these for another purpose. I'm not a big believer in wasting things, so when you have an opportunity like this to have a spare set of turnbuckles around, I'm going to modify their purpose and yeah, subscribe, and our next video is going to be about how we retrofitted these to be additionally supportive for our big rear. So one of the things I did have to do when I bought this camper used was I had to shorten these turnbuckles in order to work with my length here. So I'm thinking I'm probably going to have to do the same with these fast guns. As I get to about the maximum throw of my threaded rod, which is right there, I'm looking and thinking, let's size these guys up next to each other. So that is about 1 inch too long. So I'm gonna cut off some threaded rod of this one and we'll go from there. Okay, I think I learned something here. This kind of shows the realism of me doing these videos. I'm not overly prepared, but a ratchet, extension, and a 3/4 inch socket fit nicely in there. Hold on to that guy. Oh yeah. And I'm holding on to the turnbuckle at the top. That's the move, Junior. The nut is back out, the lock nut at least. Socket out, extension out, and then I'm gonna back this down in order to cut off the threaded rod. So one of the old tricks to not having a hard time getting a nut onto something that is threaded, when you cut it, you put the nut on, and after you cut off a giant piece of this threaded rod, you're gonna back the nut back up the threaded rod, and that'll clean up your threads so that things go smoothly when you want to put it on and off over and over again. So I'm gonna start by taking off about 1 inch, knowing I can always cut off more. Well, those lasted about an hour before having to become custom. I ended up taking off closer to 2 inches than 1. I just can't imagine that 1 is gonna be enough, so risk it for the biscuit. Ooh, that nut's hot. Making sure those threads are clean. Hot metal. Not bad, not bad. So that's good. Still plenty of room there. Let's take a loose measurement. That's gonna go there. That's gonna come down to there. And then that's gonna go that. That should be good. I like it. Gotta turn my hat around. I'm gonna get a sunburn on my bald spot. My whole head is a giant bald spot. Okay, got the nylock on there. Okay. Alrighty, so the threaded rod has a bunch more engagement than necessary, but not gonna harm anything. And now we're gonna slide that bad boy down in, put in our plastic cap again, push that down. Okay, let's see how it installs. Let's get the old one out, get our tools out of the way. Dun, 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 dun. So, when I put these in, bottom first, top second. Okay, those are very loose, but I think lengthwise they'll work. Attempt number 2. Ooh, better. Okay, starting to need our indicator. Not bad, little tight maybe. So that felt a touch on the tight side, so I'm just gonna back it off like 1 turn. That felt better. Do it the right way. I will butt the O-ring up against the bottom there. Insert the bottom of the turnbuckle into the flatbed. After putting it into the camper, pull nice and tight on the turnbuckle, and we've now got about the correct amount of gap between our O-ring and our turnbuckle, indicating we have the proper amount of turnbuckle pressure to hold this big camper in place without doing any damage to it. So we're gonna also use these nice new shiny clips that came with our fast guns today. I am going to definitely upgrade these to locks from Fastgun so that these don't get accidentally taken away by somebody else. Well, that came up super sweet. First one down, and now I'm gonna do the remaining 3. I'm gonna cut each one down ahead of time in terms of the threaded rod with the hook at the bottom of it. I'll probably remove about a 2 to 3 inch portion of the threaded rod, 2 for the remaining front turnbuckle, and then 3 inches for the turnbuckles that are gonna be in the rear, as those are a tiny bit shorter in overall length. And then we should be done. So I'm not using the shackles that came with it. Generally speaking, you would use these shackles if you had those normal style frame mounted connection points for your turnbuckle. But since we're doing camper to flatbed, I'm bypassing these. But you better believe I'm gonna keep them and repurpose them for something else at some point. Oops. Okay. Although you have the rubber O-ring here, a large amount of this, it eventually just becomes by feel. You know that there's a certain amount of tension you should have, and you know about how much is too much. That's pretty darn good right there, see? Okay, so I'll raise my little indicator guide up, undo it, and yeah, that's good. You want a modest amount of tension on your turnbuckle. You don't want it to be where you're having to hang your whole body weight on it in order to get it to pull down, but you also don't want it so loose that it's just moving around loosely. Last piece of the puzzle is our new clip. Sweet. So that concludes our upgrade of our new TorqueLift Fastgun turnbuckles from our old TorqueLift turnbuckles. I'm gonna do the last 2, let you guys get out of here. Thanks so much for being here. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, turn on notifications, because we'll be back for more.